One of the things that we like to do here at the first part of these episodes is, did it translate over in Australia? Obviously, you were here, but do you know of people in Australia, maybe your wife or friends or family, that back in Australia watch it? Because it feels like it's a very American show.
Nah, it was a monster. It did well over here. Yeah, because it was a universal message. It was about families dealing with stuff. Just because it was called it's the funny thing is, it dealt with things like the teen angst stuff, the paying the rent, stupid kids, bad neighbors. There wasn't really anything that was like flag waving, civil rights, guns, expressly America stuff. It was all pretty much just family stuff. That's why it makes sense with the next point that you're about. It was called Modern Family. It wasn't like it was called what?
My American Family. That was the original title for the show. So you can tell why they did. But then again, things get a name change all the time, where they could have very easily gone in and changed a name for a different market. I mean, we found that out with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Over in the UK, it was...
That's right, yeah.
Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles. It wasn't Ninja Turtles. Yeah. So they
which
don't
really
have an
is
issue.
kind of... And that one really is bizarre because the defining factor of these turtles is that they are ninja.
Yeah.
They practice ninjutsu. Yeah. It's not like they've got... Yeah. So, but at the same time, I can understand why American Family might have looked at it and gone, well, we could just call it Modern Family, and then we've got all of these other territories that it'll just naturally translate to, and that was a fair thing. I don't think it would have made a difference in Australia because we've been plagiarizing American culture since there was American culture. But, it makes sense that they would have gone with that.
Well, we're going to get to remakes of of Modern Family that were done in other countries, which are really hilarious.
I did not know about that.
And I also think that Modern Family it summed up the show brilliantly, because you had sort of the standard mom and dad, which was Claire and Phil, and then you had the gay couple who adopt a daughter, and then you had Jay and Gloria with their son, and the age gap there, and she's from another country, and so it truly encompassed a lot of the way that families are.
Everyone.
And that's why I think Modern was a really, like, that was the perfect the perfect way to sum up the show in the title.
Yeah, I think for Australia, when we heard the thing Modern Family and we saw that there was a gay couple on the first episode, that was what we got from it. It was wasn't it? This is modern. This is definitely cutting edge modern. Like, they got a gay family in the first episode, regular characters. Like, that's kind of modern.
For me, the modern one was more the Jay and Gloria family. The age
really?
gap.
That shit's been going on. Oh, come on. Old wealthy guy marries young beautiful. That's not modern. That's age old archaic. Come on, men been doing that forever.
No, men have been doing that forever. But I saw that as more of an isolated thing. That like, at least myself growing up, I knew more gay couples than I did a rich dude that married a younger woman. And now, of course, this is vastly before I was watching 90 Day Fiance. So that whole dynamic is huge now. Yeah. But that's what the way that I saw it is because I grew up around gay couples far more frequently than I did with the old guy that married the young girl.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I guess I should say woman. Girl makes it sound creepy.
That does sound creepy.
Yeah.
So let's move on. Going back into the show now, right, from Modern Family, the camera crew originally were meant to be part of the plot, which I think would have been very interesting. A fictitious filmmaker named Gert Flortvi was going to travel from the Netherlands to live with Jay as a teenage foreign exchange student friend of Manny's. That would have been pretty interesting. It wouldn't have lasted long. That wouldn't have been as sustainable, but it's got a little bit of a How I Met Your Mother vibe, almost.
Well,
yeah, I like it.
So they did have some stuff written out for this character, and I gave you that name to pronounce because I'm not even going to try. You did. I thought you did fantastic. You nailed it. It's exactly how you say it. So he was going to have a crush on Claire. Mitchell was going to find him handsome, but it was ultimately decided this was all unnecessary to the plot, so they just completely scrapped the idea. And this reminded me of when in The Office, the later seasons after Steve Carell left, they brought in the camera crew, and they became a part of the plot where Jim was off in Philadelphia and this one guy was friends with Jim and Pam, but really he's got the hots for Pam. And it was so stupid. It was not necessary. It was so different from what you expected from the show. I hated it. I did not like it at all. The only thing that was enjoyable about it is the guy that played the cameraman, or the boom mic guy that had the hots for Pam, plays one of the fucking funniest characters ever on Silicon Valley. The guy is fucking hilarious. I'm telling you.
I don't know that one.
I gotta look up his name. In Silicon Valley, his character is just He's the guy. He's all about the 3 commas. He wants to be a billionaire.
3.
You get 3 commas when you have a billion, right? There's 3 commas in 1 billion. And so he's the guy. He has this bottle of tequila. It's called 3 commas or something. Or it's in Spanish or something, maybe trace something that's whatever.
Right.
It's just, he's fucking hilarious, man. He's so funny. And he's such a dipshit.
And The Office was where he got his first crack.
I don't know if it was his first crack, but I do remember that he was the guy that it was the same actor that played that.
I do remember vividly when that happened. When he crossed over, it was like the fourth wall was being seriously broken, and I remember thinking, "This is where the show goes downhill forever."
Yeah,
it was the last season or something. It was like they're really running out of ideas. And it's time to finish. Yeah, going back to Modern Family.
Well, it's good. Yeah, because one thing.
Sorry.
One thing that what you just had mentioned about, I just lost my train of thought as I'm trying to look up this guy's name. Go ahead, do the next one.
I was going to say, yeah. So the show Modern Family was pitched. This is something interesting. It was pitched to ABC, CBS, and NBC. CBS didn't want to commit to a single camera style mockumentary. NBC was already having success with The Office and Parks and Rec. So ABC ended up greenlighting the project as a result.
So the show's creators, Christopher Lloyd, that's not the Doc Brown from Back to the Future. I just found that out a couple years ago. I assumed that Christopher Lloyd, it was the same guy for the longest time. I assumed, I was like, wow, he's Doc Brown and he's producing all these shows. Like, that guy's
Let me know.
Shit.
I want to in the comments section right now, if you thought that Christopher Lloyd from all of these amazing sitcoms was Doc Brown from Back to the Future, please type yes, I thought that too, because I thought I was the only one.
No, I firmly thought that. So it was Christopher Lloyd and Stephen Levitan, and they would work on the show separately. They would each take half of an episode, and then they would work on it separately because they knew if they worked directly together, they would constantly argue over who had the final say. So it was just easier. You get your half, I get my half, that's it. And it worked out brilliantly. And look at the show that had countless awards.
I think that's fair enough. I've heard that the Red Hot Chili Peppers wrote songs like that for the first few albums.
Yeah,
they would come up with a beat.
Half-made pieces of shit.
Oh, come on, man. I want to dig myself out of that. I said a couple of things about Red Hot Chili Peppers that I'm not proud of. But like they would go away and they'd come back. And you got to admit, though, regardless of what you think about Red Hot Chili Peppers, they don't sound like anyone else. So at least they have a unique voice. Coming back to it, the show was recreated. Okay, here we go. The show was recreated for international audiences. In Chile, it was called Familia Moderna. Moderna or Modena? How do you say it in Chilean? Moderna? Because that sounds like a pharmaceutical company.
I think it's modern, like modern. Moderna.
Moderna? Yeah. Familia Moderna, like familiar family. In this version, Lily isn't adopted. She is Mitchell's biological daughter after a drunken encounter, but Mitch and Cam had full custody.
So over in Iran, they did a remake of Modern Family. This was called Haft Sang in 2014. And again, I have no idea if I pronounced that properly. Mitch and Cam's relationship has turned into a heterosexual one. I mean, again, we're talking about Iran, not exactly progressive over there. And Haley is changed to a teenage boy so Dylan then becomes a close friend. Look up, it's Haftsang, Haft Sang. It looks like a serious show, dude. Because Modern Family, you see that's the pictures of the family and they're like smiling and they're all happy. But when you look up Haft Sang, it's like, whoa, like this has got to be some sort of a crime murder mystery or something going on here. These dudes are hardcore.
Hold on a second. I'm looking. Yeah, you're right. Actually, I'm looking at these images now. This is the show?
Yeah.
Yeah, this looks a little bit more this looks like it's about to become a murder mystery.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of these people look dark. They're looking at the camera like, I'm going to come for you. What the
It looks
fuck,
like one of
man?
those shows that they'll turn into a novella for my wife to watch on the Spanish channel.
Yeah. Okay. And did they explain one thing here? Did they explain why they changed Haley's character into a teenage boy? Is it because they're not supposed to have relationships at that age?
I don't know. I haven't. I was
That's a bit
I was
weird.
only able to find very surface information on some of these shows. Again, if you know the answer, if you're here on YouTube, comment below and let us know any of this info.
Please let us know. So this is interesting. All of the actors, we're going back to the American version now. All the actors made a pact that when awards season came, none of them were in leading roles. They were all in supporting roles. That is awesome. And that, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Friends did that as well, didn't they? Do you remember about Friends?
I don't know if
Ross
did they make the pact?
They didn't. No, they didn't make a pact about leading actors versus supporting actors, but they did say when it came time, it was David Schwimmer who was considered the number one guy because he was Ross and Rachel and everything.
Yeah.
Exactly. He went in on like the third or fourth season when it was time to renegotiate because after the third year everyone goes and renegotiates, and he said we should all go in and negotiate as a team. If we go in and try to one-up each other and men are getting paid more than women, or I'm getting paid more than Joey because I'm more at Ross and Rachel, he said, let's all go in and negotiate as a team. And that's why the seasons kept being so good and they lasted for so long, for 11 years, I think it was, on Friends, because they were equal and they all felt good and fair about it. There was no animosity. And everyone looked at David Schwimmer and said, sure thing, stupid. You're the only one getting a pay cut. And he was like, but he was the fearless leader and went in with a good head on his shoulders and he made a good call.
And you just made the point. I mean, he could have taken more money, but if there's animosity within the crew, the show might not last as long. So you might get that early bump in pay, but it's not going to pay off in the long run. And like teamwork makes the dream work, baby.
That's a good way to put it. Here we go.
All right,
you're back to you.
Nolan Gould, who played Luke, he's a real life genius. He's been a part of Mensa since he was 4 years old.
Wait a minute. Which one's Luke again?
The young son. The one, Phil's young son, the one who they play off is kind of stupid.
The redhead. He's a fucking genius, legit.
He's been a member of Mensa since he was 4 years old.
So why is he such a bad actor? Because he's not a good actor on the show, is he? He looks like
I thought he was great. I thought he was perfect
really?
Yeah. He played that sort of dopey, sort of not really knowing what's going on, just boneheaded kid. I thought he played it great.
See, wow, I would never have picked that. I'm so glad you told me that. All right. So The Broken Step was an improvisation by Ty Burrell, who plays Phil Dunphy. He does the gotta fix that step in season 1, and it carried through for the rest of the series. Did they carry that to the end of the series? He kept doing that. I remember it from the first season.
It was an ongoing thing. I don't think it was like every single episode, but it was one of those things that continued to carry on where got to fix that step, and people would trip on that step. Got to fix that step. Got to fix that step. And
I remember it. I'd forgotten about that, man. That's so funny.
And so speaking of Mr. Phil Dunphy, they didn't want Ty Burrell playing Phil Dunphy. He had just been in a show called Back to You. Now, if anybody remembers what this show is, either you're a huge TV nut or you're a big Kelsey Grammer nut or a Patricia Heaton nut, because they were the main stars on that show. It didn't even last a full season. The network didn't think that Burrell was going to be strong enough for a main character. So the show creators, Lloyd and Levitan, ended up mocking up a scene with Burrell alongside Sarah Hyland. She was the one that played Haley. That preview convinced ABC to hire him to play Phil Dunphy.
And I think he did a good job. What do you think? I think he's
my
good as the
favorite
everyman.
He's my favorite part of the show. When I would get frustrated when, going through just everyday life as a husband and a dad and wanting to be able to see, like, I loved Phil Dunphy's perspective on life. I loved his joy of life. I loved his ability to have fun doing things just for the sake of doing it because it's fun. And I took a lot of that to heart, and I thoroughly enjoyed watching him, especially knowing that he was in the Dawn of the Dead remake with Ving Rhames, where he plays an asshole. And it's hilarious.
Right. Yeah, I can see that. My favorite character was always the grandfather. His lack of fucks. His lack of fucks, I always appreciated. But the thing that I loved was that you had to wait for it. Was a slow burn with him where he would be that old man that was just grumpy or short, but then once every couple of episodes he would lay down a nugget of wisdom that would be like, when it comes to the things that matter, I've got this covered.
Yeah.
Like, and you know the bits, and that's the thing that I always liked. I was like, someone you can count on, someone, even when he would talk to Phil about how to be a man, how to be a dad, and it would be like, well, no one really has it figured out, but you got to follow your gut and all that sort of stuff. I always got the warm tingles when it came to those minutes.
Jim's got the warm tingles.
I got the warm and fuzzies, man.